First get a thorough pay.
Patrick, that's a
Bluey?
Yes, exactly.
Hello everyone, hope you're all having a good day today, and welcome back to Mothman Media, where, let's face it, we're all just pretending to be adults here. Case in point, I, a tax-paying, life-planning, degree-having man, have watched all 154 episodes of Bluey, and I have no regrets. If I tried to list all the reasons why Bluey is one of the best children's cartoons to be released in the 21st century, I would be here all day. Great writing, memorable characters, beautiful animation, and much, much more. That being said, I'd like to do something a little bit different for this video, because today, I want to show you all my top 10 favorite episodes of Bluey. Keep in mind, this is all just my opinion, so if your favorite episode isn't on here, there's no need to spontaneously combust. I mean, come on, let's be cool, let's be chill. That being said, let's get into it.
Pizza time.
This episode of Bluey is called Hammerbarn.
When the Healer family heads out on a trip to Hammerbarn, Bluey and Bingo learn to appreciate what they have instead of being jealous of other people's things. This episode has a lot of memorable and quotable lines. Every time me and my family see a pizza oven, we immediately jump to quoting this episode. But nestled in between all the laughs, this episode also just has a really good message. One thing that Bluey does better than any other show I've seen is capturing the feeling of being a kid again, which will be a recurring theme with episodes on this list. No joke, when me and my older sister were kids, whenever we would go into Lowe's, we would play with the free paint sample cards just like the girls do. And of course, who could forget the classic childhood memory of breaking something at the department store? This is definitely a favorite episode in my house, and it's even my dad's personal favorite, and I completely understand why.
I just got it from Hammerbarn.
Ooh.
We're going to Hammerbarn.
Jingle those bells and deck the halls, and a frosty Rudolph and Santa's sleigh, and a mistletoe and a dreidel too.
This episode of Bluey is called Christmas Swim.
As the Healers celebrate Christmas, Bluey introduces her new doll to the rest of the family, and along the way, learns that all of her family's little imperfections are the very thing that makes them special. A common element for episodes on this list is great comedy, and this episode is no exception, especially Muffin's work commute, as well as the game of classic catches. This episode is also just dripping with Christmas atmosphere and holiday joy. You just get the warm fuzzies while watching this episode, and it brings me right back to all of my family gatherings around the holiday season. Also, it's always great to see Red and Frisky again. Spoiler, this may not be the last time that we see them on this list. Overall, a very enjoyable watch that I can easily see folks revisiting every holiday season.
He needs some milk!
How's your thirst for adventure, Captain?
Unquenchable.
This episode of Bluey is called Adventure.
This episode follows Bluey, Chloe, and the Terriers as they roleplay a story about a young princess going on a quest to save her kingdom and defeat the dreaded Greedy Queen. I don't see a lot of people talking about this one, and honestly, I wish more people would. I really like the detail of the episode being shown at a different aspect ratio. It makes you feel like you're watching an actual movie. The story itself is surprisingly engaging and has a lot of good laughs along the way. The running gag of Bluey and Chloe switching characters back and forth always gets a good chuckle out of me, as well as a few good fourth wall breaks and a bunch of good one-liners.
Why did the Greedy Queen turn all the fruit bushes into sand? Maybe she really likes sand. If you keep being mean and greedy, no one will want to be your friend. I don't want any friends. I like being mean and greedy.
Overall, I think this episode is a bit of a hidden gem, and is one of the better episodes of Season 1.
They will have plenty of food for everyone. Hooray! Honey Horse can't talk, remember? He just neighs. Oh, yeah.
What army? What army? Look around you, crabs! You planted... Touch of the Disney!
This episode of Bluey is called Army.
In this episode, we meet the newest student at Glasshouse Primary School, Jack, and learn that he has a lot of difficulty with tasks such as remembering things and following instructions. However, his new friend Rusty helps him to overcome his own insecurities and help him realize he's much more capable than he thinks he is. While it's never outright stated, it's very heavily implied that Jack has ADHD. And honestly, this is one of the more mature episodes of any show I've seen to feature somebody with a a neurodevelopmental condition. A lot of times, especially in cartoons, a lot of ADHD-coded characters will have the extent of their neurodivergence simplified down to gags about how they can't sit still or focus on things. But this episode doesn't really do that. It actually shows how challenging it can be for someone with ADHD to navigate the world around them. As somebody with ADHD myself, this episode feels like a breath of fresh air and makes Jack one of the more relatable characters I've seen in really any cartoon. To me, this episode almost feels like one of those cheesy motivational cards, because every time I watch Jack overcome his struggles, I feel like I can conquer my own. Jack and Rusty also have a really fun dynamic, and the ending with Rusty's dad is really sweet. Easily one of the best episodes of the whole series in my opinion.
Why did you come to this school? Was there something wrong with your old school? No, there's something wrong with me. This episode of Bluey is called Cricket.
During a game of cricket at a birthday party, Rusty casually takes the adults to school as we see the evolution of Rusty not only as a cricket player, but as an older brother as well. Watching Rusty overcome all of the various challenges we see him face in his mission to become the best cricket player he can be is both satisfying and heartwarming. I mentioned in the previous entry that watching it felt very motivational. Well, the same thing goes here, maybe even more so. Also, Rusty is just my favorite character in the show, so it's really nice to see him get the spotlight here. Also, that bit with his sister at the end, as well as the time jump, always gets me right in the feels. Also, there's a fan theory that this whole episode is actually Bandit in the future telling this story to Bluey's future kid. And that sounds really cool, so I'll give it a few bonus points. For me, this is one of the best feel-good episodes of the show, and I can't help but grin from ear to ear every time I see it.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time. What seems to be the problem?
I'm just trying to relax! This episode of Bluey is called Relax.
In this episode, the healers are going on holiday, and while the girls have fun in their room, Chili just wants to get to relaxing, but finds it's harder than she thought. Eventually, she learns to just go with the flow and live in the now. Not only does this episode perfectly portray that feeling of childhood excitement that comes from going on vacation, but its central conflict with Chili is far more relatable than I would like to admit. It's easy to become so focused on trying to do something that when you can't do it, you start to beat yourself up for it, even if that thing is simply unwinding and having a nice time. Filled with both nostalgia and painful relatability, this continues to be one of my most rewatched episodes, and it's more than likely that I'll keep rewatching it in the future.
It's got one! Congratulations, toilet!
RCAMPFIRESONG.
This episode of Bluey is called Camping.
While the healers are on a camping trip, Bluey meets another kid named Jean-Luc, and despite the fact that they don't speak the same language, they quickly become friends. Until eventually, Jean-Luc and his family have to leave, and Bluey learns to appreciate the time that she gets to spend with people instead of mourning the time that you don't. This is pretty universally considered to be one of, if not the best episodes of Season 1, and I can easily see why. Bluey and Jean-Luc are a lot of fun to watch, especially watching them find ways to get around the language barrier, and it's not hard to get emotional, not only when Bluey realizes that he's already left, but when Jean-Luc realizes he can't say goodbye to her properly. And also, just to note, anytime Bluey does a flash forward in time, it's almost guaranteed to get you choked up, and this episode's ending is no exception. Funny, heartfelt, and emotional, this episode stands as one of the strongest of the entire show, and I could easily understand somebody saying that this is their favorite.
Hello, Bluey. I'm not crying. I'm just sweating through my eyes.
Before we get to the top 3, I'd just like to bring up a few honorable mentions that just missed the cut. In addition, when it comes to my top 3, literally any of these episodes could have been my number 1. At one point, I think all 3 of these were my number 1. So the order of these last few are likely to change as time goes by, and will probably even change as I make this video. But for now, let's finally get into it.
This episode of Bluey is called Sleepytime.
As Bingo tries to have a big girl sleep, we follow her through her dream as she and her stuffed animal friend Floppy navigate a surreal space-themed landscape around them, all as we simultaneously see how Bingo is literally interacting with the world around her as she sleepwalks. As the night comes to a close, Bingo is reassured by Chili, the sun of her own personal solar system, and wakes up in her own bed as the sun slowly rises behind her. There is a lot to talk about with this episode, So I'll get one of the most talked about points out of the way first. The music goes so hard, famously utilizing Gustav Holst's Jupiter throughout the episode, and most notably during the episode's most famous scene. I haven't really had a chance to mention this yet, but the music in really all of the episodes on this list is great. Jeff Bush and the rest of the music team really do have a ton of talent. This episode is also very strong comedically, mostly the moments of Bandit just straight up not having a good time. And I'm sorry, but if you're not at least a little choked up at the sun bit, I think you may have something wrong with you, and I'd strongly suggest getting whatever it is checked out. This was actually the first full-length episode of Bluey I ever watched, and I instantly understood why the show was as beloved as it was, and I've been a fan ever since.
This episode of Bluey is called The Sign.
In Bluey's first and so far only 28-minute special, the Healers are preparing for Red and Frisky's wedding while simultaneously being in the process of selling their home, much to the displeasure of Bluey, who hopes to convince her parents to stay. When I found out what this episode was about, I was concerned that the writers were going to bite off more than they could chew, even with the extended length time of the episode. But when I sat down and watched it for the first time, I quickly realized that this episode was going to be something special. It manages to balance both ongoing plot lines perfectly, without it ever feeling like one is taking up too much attention. Besides that, this episode is just filled to the brim with everything that makes Bluey so great. The humor, writing, animation, and especially the music is all on point. If that last song from Megan Washington that plays over the last minute or so isn't enough to make your heart grow 3 times in size, I don't know what will. I've seen some controversy about the episode's ending, with some feeling like it was a bit of a cop-out, but I didn't mind it. The time jumps throughout the series sort of unintentionally gave away the resolution of this episode, so I kinda knew what was coming going in, but I could see why people didn't like it. But I'm not one of those people. This episode shot straight to the top of my list almost immediately after it came out, and until recently, this was my number 1. However, there's one episode that I just couldn't not have at the top spot that just barely beats it out.
Everything will work out the way it's supposed to, Bluey.
If no one else will put this episode at number 1, then fine.
I'll do it myself.
This episode of Bluey is called Barky Boats.
Objectively speaking, this episode isn't the best, as numbers 2 and 3 I do think are technically better, but I'm sorry, I love this episode so much, I couldn't not have it at the top spot. In this episode, Bluey and Mackenzie meet up with their buddies, Captain and Mia. While things are going normally at first, their buddies start to spend more time with each other than with them. But Calypso explains through a clever allegory that growing up can be challenging, and that their buddies haven't forgotten about them, and they just need to be patient and understanding. When I first watched this episode, I couldn't stop smiling from ear to ear as the credits rolled. This may just be the sweetest episode of the entire show, especially the ending scene. Captain and Mia are also some of the best one-off characters in the entire show, and I would love to see more of them in their mini-romantic subplot in the future. Bluey and Mackenzie's dynamic is also really fun and has a really sweet payoff as well. And good god, that ending. When I first saw this episode, I had a lot going on in my life. I had just finished school, and I was just entering the workforce. A lot of big changes were going on, and it was uncomfortable at times to move into this next phase of my life. So Mia's struggles with moving on to a new phase in her life hit home for me. And that ending with Bluey asking the fairies to look after her when she goes to big school and Mia tearing up and hugging her made my heart pop out of my chest like a xenomorph. Great humor, great heart, great characters, great music. What more could you ask for in a Bluey episode? All those factors combined is why Barky Boats, as of now, is my pick for the best Bluey episode to date. Now if you don't mind, I'm gonna go rewatch it for like the 8th time. In the meantime, if you'd like to stick around, please consider subscribing. It's free, and I'd really appreciate it if you stayed around for even just a little bit. But that's all I've got for now, but I hope I'll see you again real soon.